Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Tony Leonardi, and this is A Smarter Way to Retire. Your smarter retirement starts here. Today we're talking about something that affects nearly everyone with a traditional IRA or 401k, required minimum distributions or RMDs. This sounds like a pretty easy, straightforward topic, one that we should be able to blow through in just a few minutes, right? No. In fact, we have so much to cover regarding required minimum distributions that I had to break this topic down into two separate episodes. In this episode, RMD episode number 1, fundamentals, what you must know. We're going to focus on the basics, the rules, the deadlines, penalties, and mistakes. Next week in episode 2, we're going to talk about advanced RMD strategies. Minimizing taxes, maximizing flexibility. We'll focus on QCDs, planning strategies, and interactions with other retirement income. Episode 1 this week is perfect for people turning 73 or just starting RMDs. We'll call this the basics. Episode 2 is for people ready to optimize and plan ahead. So picture this, you've spent decades building your retirement nest egg. You've sacrificed, you've saved, you invested wisely. Then one day, you turn around, you find yourself at age 73 and the IRS comes knocking. They tap you on the shoulder and they say, okay, time to start taking money out. We need to tax you. We want our taxes. Whether you need the money or not, you have to start taking it out. Welcome to required minimum distributions. Now, here's what's wild. I've seen people lose thousands of dollars, not by making bad investment decisions, not from market crashes, but from simple RMD mistakes. Missing a deadline, forgetting about an old 401k, not really understanding the rules completely. So today we're going to break down everything you need to know. What RMDs are, when you must take them, how to calculate them, and the 7 most common mistakes that can cost you big time. So let's dive in. What are RMDs and why do they exist? Well, let's start with some basics. What exactly is a required minimum distribution? An RMD is a mandatory withdrawal from your tax-deferred retirement accounts once you reach a certain age. The IRS requires it. There's no way around it. That's why it's called a required distribution. And why do they exist? Well, think about it this way. When you contributed to your traditional IRA or your 401k, you got a tax deduction. That money grew tax deferred for decades. The government gives you a massive tax break up front, but they haven't forgotten about you. At some point, they want their cut. They want their taxes. RMDs are how they collect. The IRS basically says, we've been patient. We let your money grow, tax deferred for 30, 40, maybe 50 years. Now it's time to pay up. So which accounts require RMDs? Well, here's a list. Traditional IRAs, SEP IRAs, which are simplified employee pension plans. I have one of those. Simple IRAs. 401ks, 403bs, 457 plans, pretty much any employer-sponsored retirement plan. And which accounts do not require RMDs? This is important. Roth IRAs, there are no RMDs while you're alive. Roth 401ks and Roth 403bs. As of 2024, they no longer require minimum distributions. This is one of the biggest reasons Roth conversions can be so powerful and are so popular. We covered this in detail in our Roth conversion masterclass last week. You can find that video on my YouTube channel. And I'll put a link to that in the description if you want to go back and look at that again. So what age do RMDs start? Currently, you must start taking RMDs at age 73. Now, this has changed recently, so pay attention. If you turned 72 before January 1st of 2023, you should already be taking RMDs. If you turn 72 in 2023 or later, you start taking RMDs at age 73. Starting in 2033, for the youngsters out there, the RMD age increases to age 75. I know the rules keep changing. Welcome to Congress, helping us plan for retirement. But for now, remember, age 73 is when most people start taking RMDs. So here are some critical timing rules. So you know what RMDs are and when they start. Now let's talk about the timing rules, because this is where people can get tripped up. Your first RMD, the April 1st exception. For your very first RMD, you have two options. Take it by December 31st of the year you turn age 73, or you can delay it until April 1st of the year following the year you turn 73. Sounds pretty nice, right? You get a few extra months of tax deferral and a few extra months of not paying a tax. But here's the trap. If you delay your first RMD until April of the following year, you now have to take two annual RMDs in 1 year. Let me give you an example. You turned 73 in June of 2025, this past June. You decide to wait to take your first RMD until April 1st of next year. The deadline. Great. No distribution and no tax this year. But next year, you have to take two RMDs, your 2025 RMD and your 2026 RMD by December 1st of 2026. That's two RMDs in 1 calendar year. So, why does that matter? Well, two RMDs in 1 year means higher taxable income. You might jump into a higher tax bracket. You could trigger Medicare IRMA rules, which we talked about several times over the past few weeks, which means higher Medicare premiums. More of your Social Security becomes taxable. This is why in most cases I recommend people take their first RMD in the year they turn 73. Don't delay it. That could push you up into a higher tax bracket. The April 1st option is really only beneficial if you have a unique situation. Maybe you're retired mid-year and you want to defer that income. But for most people, take it by December 31st of the year you turn 73. So here's an interesting scenario, and one that I actually have run into a few times. If someone turns 73 at the end of the year or near the end of the year or on December 31st, do they still have to take a full year RMD for the full year they turned age 73? The answer is yes, absolutely. If someone turns 73 on December 31st, they still must take their full RMD for that year. The IRS considers you to be age 73 for the entire year, even if your birthday is in December. So, in our example, you turned 73 on December 31st, 2025. Your first RMD is due by the latest April 1st of 2026. That's for the 2025 tax year, based on an account balance as of December 31st of the prior year, 2024. Am I confusing you? I hope not. So it's the first annual RMD amount. It's not prorated, regardless of when your birthday is. The key principle is the IRS doesn't prorate RMDs based on what day of the year you turn 73. You're either 73 for the full year or you're not, according to the IRS. You can take your RMDs as early as January 1st of the year you turn 73, even before your birthday, while you're still 72. So someone turning 73 in December of 2025 can actually take their 2025 RMD starting on January 1st of 2025, a full 364 days before they turn 73, if they want to. This is actually one of the worst case scenarios for the April 1st delay trap, because you turn 73 on the very last day of 2025. If you delay until April 1st of 26 to take your first RMD, you still need to take your 2026 RMD by December 31st of 2026. 2 full RMDs in 1 calendar year. As we mentioned earlier, could be a major tax problem for you. How about ongoing RMDs after your first RMD? Every subsequent RMD must be taken by December 31st each year. No extensions, no exceptions. The December 31 is a hard deadline. How about the still working exception? Now, if you're still working past age 73 and you don't own more than 5% of the company that you work for, you can delay RMDs from your current employer's 401k until you actually retire. The key words here are current employer's 401k. That does not apply to your IRAs. You still have to take RMDs from your IRAs. Old 401ks from previous employer, RMDs are still required. So if you're still working at age 73 and you have a 401k with that employer, you get to pass on your RMD for that account. But your IRAs, you still need to take RMDs from those. That's the one exception. So how do you calculate your RMD? How much are you supposed to take? So you know when you have to take your RMD. Now let's talk about how much. The calculation is actually pretty straightforward. RMD, or your required minimum distribution amount, equals your account balance as of December 31st of the prior year, divided by your life expectancy factor. The life expectancy factor comes from IRS tables. They publish that for us. Most people use what's called the Uniform Lifetime Table. Let me walk you through an example. It's 2025. You're 75 years old. Your IRA balance on December 31st of 2024 was $500,000. You look up age 75 on the Uniform Lifetime Table. You can find it online. The factor is 24.6. Your RMD is your $500,000 balance on December 31st, 2024, divided by 24.6, which is $20,325. That's what you're required to withdraw in 2025. Is there more than one table? Which table should I use? Well, there are three tables, actually. There's the Uniform Lifetime Table, which we just mentioned. That's what most people will use. Single filers will use that. Married couples will use that if your spouse is not more than 10 years younger, regardless of your beneficiary designation. Married couples, where your spouse is not the sole beneficiary, you'll use the uniform table. Again, regardless of age difference. The second table is the joint and last survivor table. You use this only if both conditions are met. Your spouse is your sole beneficiary and your spouse is more than 10 years younger than you. You use the joint table. This gives you a longer life expectancy and a smaller RMD. And that could make a lot of sense for you if you don't need the money. Keep your tax bill down. There's also the single life expectancy table, and that's for inherited IRAs. And we'll cover inherited IRAs in a future episode. For 99% of you, I would say, who are watching or listening today, you'll use the Uniform Lifetime Table. Here are some important notes. Calculate separately for each account. If you have 3 IRAs, for example, calculate the RMD for each one. You can aggregate IRAs. So you calculate the RMD for each IRA, you add them up. Then you can take the total from one IRA, or you can split it across multiple IRAs. It's your choice where you take the money from, as long as you satisfy that minimum for all IRAs. Important points. You cannot aggregate 401ks like you can IRAs. So if you have multiple 401ks from multiple prior employers, each 401k requires its own separate RMD. You can't take it all from one 401k or from your IRA. Separate RMDs for each 401k. This is a common mistake that I see. People think they can treat 401ks just like IRAs, and you can't. Your custodian, Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab, will usually calculate your RMD for you. They'll send you a notice in January saying, here's your RMD for the year. But don't trust them blindly. Double check it. They don't know what your other holdings are. They don't know if you have other IRAs or other 401ks. So if you have multiple accounts, do the calculation on your own. It's your responsibility, not your custodian's. So what is the penalty for messing up the rules and missing your RMD? The penalty for missing an RMD used to be absolutely brutal. 50% of the amount you failed to withdraw. Congress recently reduced that, but it's still pretty harsh. The current penalty if you miss your RMD is 25% of the amount you didn't take. But if you catch the mistake and correct it within 2 years, the penalty drops to 10%. Not great, but not as bad as it used to be. Let's look at an example. Your RMD required distribution amount is $20,000 for the year. You forget to take it for one reason or another. You take zero. Your penalty is 25% of the $20,000 or $5,000. And guess what? You still owe income tax on that $20,000 when you eventually withdraw it. So you're paying a $5,000 penalty, plus you pay income tax on the $20,000. Ouch. What happens if you need to withdraw the $5,000 from your IRA to pay the penalty? Oh boy, now we're in trouble. We're in an endless loop. The $5,000 IRA withdrawal is also taxable as ordinary income because it's coming from your pre-tax IRA. You pay the $5,000 penalty. You'll also owe income tax on that $5,000. Let's say another $1,200. Plus the income tax on the original $20,000, and your tax bill just keeps going up. So the total damage becomes the original missed RMD of $20,000, taxable when you take it, $4,800 at a 24% tax bracket. Your penalty is $5,000. Not deductible. You take an additional withdrawal of $5,000, which is also taxable, another $1,200 in tax, and your total cost in taxes on that $20,000 missed RMD is $11,000. So we're back up over 50% if you don't handle this properly. So how do you fix the mistake if you catch it? If you realize you missed an RMD, here's what you do. You take the missed RMD immediately. Don't wait. Do it today. File IRS Form 5329. Attach a letter explaining what happened and be honest. Just tell them I made a mistake and here's what I did to fix it. The IRS may waive the penalty if you can show that it was an honest mistake and you corrected it promptly. Believe it or not, the IRS can often be very reasonable about this, but here's the thing. Don't rely on the IRS being nice. Just don't miss your RMD in the first place, and that will solve the problem. Set calendar reminders. Set up automatic withdrawals. Do whatever it takes. Don't pay the penalty if you don't have to. All right, so let's talk about 7 most common RMD mistakes that I see and how to avoid them. Mistake number 1 is not starting on time. This sounds obvious, but you'd be surprised. People turn 73 and they're busy. They forget or they think, oh, I don't need the money, so I'll just skip it. Nope, doesn't work. Required means required. So how do you avoid this? Set a calendar reminder for January of the year you turn 73. Go ahead, do it now. Pull out your calendar. Set a calendar reminder. I'll wait for you. Or better yet, hit pause and I'll be here when you return. Better yet, set up automatic RMD withdrawals with your custodian. Many firms offer this. It's a set and forget approach, and this is what my preferred method is. Automatic monthly withdrawals, recalculated every year by your custodian. It's a no-brainer. Most of my clients are on this system, automatic monthly recalculated withdrawals. What happens if you forget that you have multiple accounts or you forget about an account entirely? I can't tell you how many times this happens. Someone has 2 IRAs at Fidelity, an old 401k at a previous employer that they totally forgot about, another IRA at Vanguard they opened 15 years ago. They forgot about that one as well. They take the RMD from their main IRA and think they're done. Wrong. You need to take RMDs from all of your retirement accounts except Roth IRAs. Those are exempt from the RMD rules. So create a master list of every retirement account you own. Review it every year. Consider consolidating accounts, but be careful. There are pros and cons to consolidating. One of the big benefits of the financial modeling that I do for my clients is they have their own financial web page that will keep track of all of their accounts on a daily basis, real time, up to date. This is their master list that I just mentioned. Everything is there for us to review whenever and wherever we need to. Comes in very handy around RMD time. Mistake number 3 is incorrectly aggregating accounts. Remember what I said earlier, you can aggregate IRAs. You cannot aggregate 401ks. Here's what that means. You have 3 IRAs with a combined RMD of $30,000. You can take all $30,000 from one IRA if you want, or you can split it. $10,000 from each, or split it any way you choose. It's your choice. It's totally up to you. I have plenty of clients that take all of their RMD from one IRA and let the others continue to grow. But what about 401ks? Each one needs its own RMD taken from that specific account. I've seen people take their entire 401k RMD from an IRA. The IRS does not like that. This does not satisfy the 401k RMD requirement. The IRS views this as a missed RMD from the 401k. Penalty time. So what is the penalty, you ask? Well, 25% of the amount you should have taken from the 401k. So don't end up in the penalty box. I played men's hockey in a hockey league for a few years, and I often ended up in the penalty box, but it didn't cost me 25%, thank goodness. Mistake number 4, not taking an inherited IRA RMD. If you inherit a traditional IRA and the original owner has already started taking RMDs, you may need to take the RMD for that year that they passed away. Take it for them. Example, your mom passes away in March of 2025. She was 80, so she was taking RMDs. She hadn't yet taken her 2025 RMD. You, as the beneficiary, are responsible for taking it and paying the taxes. This is a nuanced rule. If you inherit an IRA, talk to a CPA or a financial advisor immediately. Here's what makes this tricky. The inherited IRA rules changed significantly in recent years. If you inherit an IRA from someone other than your spouse, you typically have to empty the account within 10 years. But during those 10 years, if the original owner had already started taking RMDs, you may also need to take annual RMDs based on your life expectancy or other factors. The rules are different depending on when the original owner passed away, whether they had started RMDs or not, and your relationship to them. So bottom line, if you inherit an IRA, don't wait until April to figure out the tax liability. Talk to a CPA or a financial advisor immediately. The rules can be confusing. Ideally, do this within weeks of the inheritance. Missing an inherited IRA RMD carries the same 25% penalty, and you don't want to discover that mistake a year later. Take care of it now. Mistake number 5 is rolling over a 401k into an IRA without taking the RMD first. Here's the scenario. You're 75, you're still working. You decide to roll your old 401k into an IRA, but you haven't yet taken your RMD from that old 401k yet. Problem. You can't roll over your RMD. You have to take it first. If you roll over the full amount without taking your RMD, the IRS considers the RMD amount an excess contribution to your IRA. Now you're in trouble. More penalties, more headaches. So many rules to be aware of. So how to avoid this? Take your 401k RMDs first, then do your rollover if that's what you want to do. Mistake number 6. Okay, this one we call the double dip disaster. This is when people think one withdrawal can satisfy multiple RMD requirements when it can't. Example, you have an IRA and a 403b. You take $40,000 from your IRA thinking it covers both RMDs. It doesn't. Remember, 403bs can only be aggregated with other 403bs, not with IRAs. Keep that in mind. If you're a teacher especially, odds are you have a 403B. Mistake number 7, not planning for the taxes. RMDs are fully taxable as ordinary income in the tax bracket you're in based on all of your other income. If your RMD is $30,000, that's $30,000 added to your taxable income for the year. A lot of people take their RMD, spend it, and then April comes around and they owe thousands in taxes they didn't budget for. How to avoid this? Have taxes withheld from your RMD. 10, 15, 20, 25%, depending on your tax bracket, or make quarterly estimated tax payments. Work with your CPA to figure out the right amounts. Don't get caught in April. So let me give you a few real life examples that I've seen in the recent years, and I've changed the names, obviously, to protect the guilty. Example 1, the double RMD mistake. John turned 73 in June of 2024. He's busy, doesn't really need the money. He figures he'll wait until early 2025 to take his first RMD. April 1, 2025 rolls around. He takes his first RMD, $25,000. Then December of 2025 comes. His custodian reminds him, hey, you need to take your 2025 RMD too. The one you took in April was for 2024. You haven't taken your 2025 yet. Uh-oh. Now he has to take another $25,000 in extra income in 1 year. That pushes him from the 22% tax bracket into the 24% tax bracket. It also triggers Medicare IRMA surcharges. His Medicare premiums go up by $2,000, all because he delayed his first RMD. I spoke about this earlier. Without a financial model, you're in danger of making this mistake too. I hate seeing people bump themselves up into higher tax brackets by mistake. We can fairly easily avoid this mistake by using a good financial model. Example number 2, the forgotten 401k. Sarah has 3 IRAs. She calculates her RMD, aggregates them, takes the total from her main Fidelity IRA. Done. Right? No. Wrong. She forgot about an old 401k from a job she left 10 years ago. It's sitting at Vanguard with $150,000 in it. She doesn't realize she needs to take an RMD from that 401k separately. The IRS sends her a letter. You owe a penalty of $1,500, 25% of the $6,000 RMD she missed. She has to scramble, file a Form 5329, plead her case. Eventually, she does get the penalty waived, but it was months of stress and work. How does this happen? I would say lack of organization. Get your financial life organized. Get a real-time financial model that keeps things up to date for you so you can avoid these mistakes. Example 3, the inherited IRA surprise. Mike's dad passes away at age 78. Mike inherits his dad's IRA. Mike knows about the 10-year rule for inherited IRAs. We'll cover that in a future episode. But what he doesn't know is that his dad had started taking his RMDs, but hadn't taken one in the year he died. Mike is now responsible for taking that RMD within the same year his dad passes. He doesn't realize this until he talks to his CPA the following April. By then, it's too late. He missed the RMD. Penalty, paperwork, headache. The lesson: if you inherit an IRA mid-year, immediately ask, did the deceased already take their RMD this year? If not, you have to take it for them. The IRS was counting on getting that money. Congress already spent it on studying shrimp on treadmills. So don't miss that inherited IRA RMD. The IRS and the shrimp need it. All right, so let's wrap this up with your action plan. If you're turning or turned 73 this year, this is a great time of year to start working on your RMD planning. Calculate your RMD before the end of the year. Use the balance from December 31st of last year, 2024. Divide that by your life expectancy factor from the IRS tables. Take your RMD by December 31st, ideally, or delay until April 1 of next year. My recommendation for most people, take it by December 31st to avoid the double RMD year. Set up your tax withholding. Talk to your CPA about the right amount to withhold. Or you can make quarterly estimated payments. Mark December 31st on your calendar in bold. This is your deadline every year from now on. Consider setting up automatic RMD withdrawals. Most custodians offer this. I suggest this for all of my clients. This takes the guesswork out of it. You just sit back, you watch your direct deposit come into your bank account every month, automatically calculated for you. If you're already taking RMDs, review all of your retirement accounts. Make a master list. Don't forget about old 401ks or forgotten IRAs. Use a real-time modeling program like the one that I use for my clients. Everything will be right there for you on the front page of your personal financial website, so you don't miss anything. Calculate this year's RMD for each account. Double-check your custodian's calculation. It's not their responsibility. They do make mistakes on occasion. Understand the aggregation rules. IRAs can aggregate with other IRAs. 401ks cannot aggregate. They must be managed separately. 403bs can aggregate with other 403bs only. Again, if you're a teacher, this would apply to you. Plan for taxes, withhold or pay quarterly. Set calendar reminders. Don't rely on your custodian to remind you. It's not your custodian's or your financial advisor's responsibility. It's yours. Always double check. If you're not 73 yet, if you're in the 60 to 72 age range and you're not taking RMDs yet, this is actually the best time to plan. We're going to cover this in detail in the next episode next week, but here's the preview. Consider Roth conversions now while you're in lower tax brackets. Model out your future RMDs to project what tax brackets they might push you into. Think about whether you want to consolidate accounts to make things easier for RMDs. Start planning your retirement income strategy. This is your golden window now. Don't waste it. All right, everyone, that's required minimum distributions, the fundamentals. Let's recap the key points. RMDs start at age 73 for most people. Your first RMD can be delayed until April 1 of the following year, but this usually creates a double RMD year, and you want to probably avoid this. After your first RMD, every RMD is due by December 31st. The penalty for missing an RMD is 25%, which could be reduced to 10% if you correct the mistake within 2 years. You can aggregate IRAs, but you cannot aggregate 401ks. Always plan for the taxes. Set up a system so you don't miss on the deadline. Next week in episode 2, we're going to go deep into RMD strategies. Qualified charitable distributions. This is huge if you're charitably inclined. How RMDs interact with Social Security, Medicare, IRMA, and state taxes. Pre-RMD planning strategies for people in their 60s. Real examples of people who save tens of thousands of dollars in taxes. If you found this episode helpful, hit that like button and subscribe. We put out new retirement planning content every week. You don't want to miss it. And if you have questions, drop them into the comments. I read every comment and I'll reply to every comment. Also, I have lots of helpful calculators on my website under the Resource Center tab. RMD calculators, Roth IRA calculators, inflation, capital gains. Take advantage of those free calculators. They're on my website, leonardifamilywealthcare.com. Thanks for watching and for listening, and I'll see you next week for more RMD tips and tricks. And don't forget to plan smart and retire happy.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Osaic Wealth, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Osaic Wealth is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Osaic Wealth. The opinions expressed herein are for general information only and is not necessarily the opinions of Osaic Wealth or its representatives. Investing is subject to risk, including loss of principal invested. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. No strategy can assure a profit nor protect against loss. It is not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Please consult your financial professional, attorney, or tax advisor with regard to your individual situation.